Yes, before we get up there and start talking.
Water, cold?
Just water.
Okay,
Yes.
water, full water, anybody else?
I'm good, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Look at these photos and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. We're just, I'm just going to tell them a bit and tell them to go to the website. Or the channel, YouTube channel.
My name's Travis Nevels. I'm from Mansfield. I'm a composer by trade, and I did some acting and some stuff. And now I'm an organic farmer. I got a place in Mansfield down there, 25-acre farm with my dad, and together we have a family-owned farm. I was a non-believer. I mean, I'm not a believer. I'm a knower.
There you go.
But July 4th, 2013, me and my ex-Marine friend was doing some hiking.
Or no, they still.
Just kidding.
It's fine.
And then I,
We were doing some hiking behind my house in Mansfield. Some trails up there where I usually take my dog and stuff. And we were looking at bear footprints, and we're like, look at this one, look at this one. We're walking a little farther, and then my friend goes, well, look at this. And I drew this when I got back, and it was perfect.
That size of it?
This is the exact size of it right here. And then this toe went off a little bit more to the angle here. This is a 16-inch. Since then, I've got 2 castings of this print right here, of this creature. And they were traveling together. We walked down a little bit farther, and we found about 4 or 5 of these on top of each other. There was a couple of different sizes, so there was 4 animals traveling together. And then I come across that big 18, and I was like, look at this one. But I used to watch that Finding Bigfoot show, and I used to laugh at those guys. Every time a rabbit would run by in the woods, I was laughing. Look at them, they're scared of a rabbit. I got friends with AK-47s, they cannot get me to go camping. You know what I mean? They're trying to say, come on, let's go camping, Because I've got like night cameras, I've got CDs of crying babies and whooping orangutans, and I mean, I've got a lot of stuff ready to go. I just need help, and I'm not going out there at night, man. I'll sit at home around the phone and the computers, and I'll orchestrate everything from MapQuest or Google Earth and stuff, and I can get the CDs and all that ready to go. But what makes an 18-inch footprint like this? I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen The Wizard of Oz with that Cowardly Lion when he's walking through the woods going, I do believe in spooks, I do believe in spooks, I do. That's me. I had some buddies of mine with me down there, and I told them, well, let's go look for tracks and everything. We're looking for tracks. It started raining, and they're like, I'm like, oh man, it's raining, man. You know, that means the animals can't hear us, they can't smell us as good, and I do not want to see a Bigfoot. They just kind of look at me like, I thought that's why we were here. I was like, no, we're here to look for tracks. I've casted these few here, except for the 18. I haven't got that one yet. But these are actual sizes. I drew these the next morning while they were still fresh on my head, and it was in such a perfect spot. And I haven't been able to find anything like this again since then. I still carry, casting equipment everywhere I go, and hopefully one day I'll get some nice ones that was in the mud or sand like that. I've had a rock thrown at me at my party.
Were those all 3 together?
They were all together.
So that's basically a
20
family
feet apart.
unit
That's a family unit.
or something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I call them Daddy, Mama, and Junior. And there's also a baby that's got like a 9-inch footprint, and I've got 2 castings of that.
Baby with a 9-inch?
Yeah, well, yeah.
yeah.
Small.
About Bigfoot.
Well, you don't think 10 foot tall is going to have a...
I've got those 2 right at a spot that I had rocks thrown at me, and a couple guys, I took them with me. I didn't tell them where we were going. This is the interesting part too. I was like, okay, well, I need somebody to go walk with me in the woods and back me up. Okay, so they come with me, and then as we start walking, I start telling the story. Well, we found some footprints, and I've been doing research, and then one of the guys was like, well, when I was a kid, we were going down this fishing creek, and out of nowhere he tells me the story, and we come across a creature that had his hands in the water like he was noodling catfish and stuff, and standing in the water. So this out of nowhere, he tells me his story. It might have been on the book. So we walk an hour. I've never whooped or chain knocked. I don't really do any of that stuff, and I just decided to whoop. I had a couple guys with me. I felt a little courage. Within 7 seconds after I whooped, a rock hits the ground behind us real hard, and we look up, we go around just to make sure it's not a tree limb or anything. No tree limbs. And it sounded like it was, you know, about the size of the one you were talking about here.
You whoop and they.
They'll whoop back.
Well, I've got another story about the whoop thing. I was coming back from getting those 2 9-inch tracks, and I heard a whoop, and it sounded like it was being thrown in my direction. So I whooped back a couple times. I turned the camera on. I didn't get anything. I went home. I came back to that exact spot with a friend a couple of weeks later, and there's this big structure there. And as I'm documenting the structure, my friend's like, dude, come here. And we walked over there, and he showed me where the big track is, you know, 60 inches or so, and 5 finger, you know, toe prints impressed in the ground. So I went back and casted that one. And whenever I went back to cast it, there was another limb that was about 14 feet high, broke off under this other part. And the whole structure, it just defies science and logic because of the way limbs are under other limbs, and it just doesn't happen naturally. Right. It's a lot like those up there. I'll show you here. Yeah, the other part was been under there, and later I found out that it repels water. So my friends are calling this the love shack, and they say that when I returned the whoop, that was like a mating call or something, and the Bigfoot found that attractive, so he built me a love shack. So now my friends are calling this structure the love shack, so now it's stuck. So it's the love shack, and you know, I've like put pheromones under it and stuff, and went back and checked the prints, and I haven't had much activity in that area anymore, but
I ain't never want to get whooping.
right, and I don't whoop anymore. See, I learned a valuable lesson. But it took me a couple weeks to figure it out, because I was like taking leftover blackberry cobbler and stuff and leaving it around there. And then one night I was laying in bed listening to like Bigfoot Hotspot Radio, and they were talking about whooping being a mating call. And I just come up out of bed, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, I don't think I'll be leaving any more cobbler down there. You know what I mean? That was a game changer. Yeah, that was a game changer. There's a big difference in you know, having your arms up and being beat with them, having your arms ripped off and beat with them, and then being raped by a 10-foot gorilla. You know, there's a big difference. So it was definitely a game changer.
Bring that one to the place.
These are some pictures of my footprints I have.
I guess not, because we a female, ain't I?
Yeah, I do it all the
I got the
time.
volume turned off on this because I got a very, very dirty mouth. I don't know if there'd be any little Bigfoot here or not.
When we have, I have people so that they could smell it as it come in.
Thanks for sharing that with me.
Well, I just shared it to the whole room.
Okay.
Is there anything else you need to say?
No, not yet. But,
This is the first 16 I found, a 16-inch one.
wow.
And I wasn't that good at casting footprints yet. It was my first one, so I didn't know you're supposed to make like a mold around it and stuff, make them real thick and put like some kind of mesh in. You know how they put rebar in concrete and stuff? But well, you put wire mesh in there. Kind of keeps it from falling apart. It looks a lot better in the picture than it did after I cast it.
That's a Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's 16-inch right there. That's Mama.
That's mine.
That's Mama. I've got the whole family pretty much recognized, and I think that there's a lone male separate from the family a little bit farther towards the highway.
Or go back
So where I'm at. It's kind of been run from the tribe.
But that's different though.
From what I've
which is
my
weird.
research.
It might be an older son or something that's.
There was a few hairs inside the bag when I got home, so I went ahead and took them, and I want to get a microscope and check them out before I try to do any DNA tests or anything. Because it could be my dog or a coyote or anything. So I'm going to check first and make sure that it's a primate before I try to do any kind of research. I mean, DNA.
When I heard that a guy in Oregon has done DNA test, he's a specialist that does DNA
Yeah, actually, there's one spot that we found an off-going trail that was a little bit bigger than a bear trail, a game trail. We went over there. We found a 16-inch that was slid, and then we went across the creek and we found a bunch of impressions in the ground that were still wet. And then as the limbs go closer down like that, we found a big, nice handprint about 9 inches long. It was real deep, and the fingers were about that wide. And then we came back later, and there was an X, 2 trees pushed down in front of the game trail.
Wow.
And there's a lot of stuff like that going on out there. We find limbs that are like trees that are pushed in the trail with another limb tucked down under it, and as soon as you take that one out, it goes shh, and it snaps back up. You can just tell it didn't happen naturally. You know what I mean? This is 13 by 6.5. She's listening. Junior. I'm calling this one Junior.
Down around Mansfield.
Yeah.
Mansfield's how far north of Walker? Just over Memphis.
It's between Fort Smith and Washington. I'm across the Poto Mountain.
Yeah, you're on the end, east end of Poto Mountain, where I'm on the west end.
Yeah, you mentioned LaForte County. LaForte County's got the most sightings in Oklahoma, and Logan County in Arkansas has got the most sightings. And where this is Rock Creek, and it's right in between both of them.
Wow.
So they're traveling back and forth over Rock Creek and using that canyon as a travel place.
Everything that I found out about them, they go to high ground in the summertime and go to low ground in the winter.
That's where the toe was pressed down, and I don't have that video on here, but it's on my page on YouTube, the Reverb Twang, if anybody wants to look at this.
That one before this one, that was in the dirt, can you go back to that one?
That might be this one I casted. That was a bear track. That's a bear rear track right there. If anybody wants to see what a bear track looks like, see?
Oh, okay.
That's a bear rear track, black bear. I've got some game cam shots too.
Oh, okay.
There on here. This was a nice deep hill, heavy animal deer. And this leaf was pressed down, and you can see the toe imprint in the video where the leaf was pressed down. So it was 13.5 by 6.5 inches.
Okay.
Which is junior. That's a little one. That's a little one. It's still not big.
And any of those toe imprints that people see, do they ever see like a toenail imprint too?
Not that I know of. I know they found vernal ridges in some and stuff, but I'm not really sure about toenails and stuff.
That's something that bothers people, is why they don't find a toenail mark out.
You don't find toenail marks, but we could.
Well, we clipboard though.
Yeah, they said that a Bigfoot should have toenails out like this, and you ought to see them in the dirt. Well, I was here, I heard one night they had some things about Bigfoot in Europe. And one of the guys said that if it was that gigantic Epicopus or whatever it's called, he said they don't have toenails. And the apes, the larger apes don't have toenails. That's the reason why we don't see the toenail imprint.
And then them dermal ridges that he's talking about, that's I mean, only primates have dermal ridges. And so that's one, like you said, when they find it in the footprint, they know it's not just somebody with a wooden shoe that's tromping through there. They know it's,
You can also tell the animal.
yeah, take it eliminate.
Lemonade, sure.
You can also identify the animal like the Patterson animal.
Yeah, Patterson, yeah.
That was matched up from a book animal that was like years before, maybe I think 7 years before. Somebody had already casted at the Patterson or Patty, before that was even taken. So,
Yeah, I think the earliest I've seen is 1959.
Now, where was that taken?
This was taken right where that rock was thrown at us. And I went back later, and these are 9-inch baby footprints, and that is probably why I had a rock thrown.
Look how deep.
And like you're saying, there's only one thing that can throw rocks in the woods, and that's humans. And humans don't throw rocks at people with guns.
No, they stupid.
They wouldn't be. We're running around with guns and stuff throwing rocks at us.
I think they're smarter than we give them credit for.
What did you say, Bill?
I don't know.
About somebody throwing
stuff, a big gap filler, you know, you get at the hardware store and stuff. It dries real quick if you don't want to have to go back the next day, which, you know, if there's something with journal ridges and you want to get detail and fingerprints and stuff, it's best to use the plaster of Paris and stuff. But if you, like these, I didn't even know for sure if they were real. I just went ahead and casted them. I used that stuff because you just spray it, and then 30 minutes later, it's ready to go. You don't have to wait around for it. And some of these on the creek, I don't even know if that's it just looked like interesting tracks. This is where we found the structure here. I got the volume turned down because I get really excited with this one. But if you would have felt the toe marks in the ground that I was sticking my fingers in, and they're just like perfect, 5 perfect toes, you know, you would have got excited too, I guarantee you. Yeah. I was always excited about it until I found out that structure was a love shack.
Like for you.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't do any movement anymore. I don't do any tree knocking. See, I just realized that the structure was here. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna document the structure, and then he's like, dude, come here. And then I walked over there behind the structure. There were some impressions in the ground everywhere, but I casted one of the 5 toes. I wanted to at least get the toes.
Wow.
And the whole thing fell apart, but I've got it, you know, stuck together like it's supposed to be, and I can look at it and see, okay, I'm not crazy. Yeah, that's where he found it. And this guy, he's got his own survival school, so he's basically a professional tracker. He teaches people how to find tracks and stuff.
Yeah, in case somebody don't know it in here, there's a difference between a bear and a Bigfoot. And if you see a Bigfoot, this is how you tell. The Bigfoot has, how do you say that, muscles? Gluteus maximus. They've got a butt. You'll see there. It's rounded. Yeah. They're not just straight up down like a bear. Because if they didn't have that muscle, the butt muscle, they couldn't walk like we do. But I think that a lot of people think that they're seeing Bigfoot when they see a bear. But what they don't know, and a lot of people don't even understand this, they've got muscles that are more like us than they do any other animal. Now, a lot of people say, well, I wouldn't kill one because I'm afraid it might be kin to me. But somebody needs to kill one just to show that they're there. I'd hate to see one killed, but that's what it's going to have to come down to, because
That's what it's going to take for scientists to really say, okay, yeah, there is such a thing.
Not only that, you got to kill it and do the right thing with it. If you just show up and call the police immediately or take it right straight to the media, it's just going to disappear in the Smithsonian. Before, you know.
Down in Arkansas, just north of Fountain, there was one killed by a truck. Well, they called the police in, the city and the county police. The state police took it over, and the FBI came down there and took all the evidence. They had the animals.
Yeah.
This is all in, and you can get the recordings of all the law enforcement officers saying they seen him. But the FBI or the Secret Service, they never did say who they were from, but they came down there and carded everybody and took them.
Yeah, you get the kill.
But how would you propose, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Travis.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, how would you propose, though, to go out in the woods and kill one of these things, though? See, that's something I've thought about. Because just like Travis has got there, you know, it's not just one, there's a family group. You kill one of them, what are they going to do to you?
Exactly.
You know?
Well, yeah.
So how are you going to, you know, that's kind of a problem in itself. I mean, unless you know you've got a rogue just individual.
I don't believe in killing it unless I'm going to eat it.
Yeah, right. But to prove it and have the body, how are you going to do that, you know, really?
But if we could catch one.
Right.
You know, there is, actually, I did hear there's one state, I don't remember which state it was, but there's one state that it's illegal to kill Bigfoot.
Yeah.
There's a few areas.
Washington State, I believe.
I didn't report my findings to BFRO. I reported it to them, but I told them not to put it on their website. Because I was afraid, you know, when I first found it, I was afraid, oh, somebody's going to go shoot them. But then I realized, oh, well, that ain't going to happen, you know.
Right.
Even the horses and the team of dogs, if a horses and a team of dogs can't catch it, well, then nothing's gonna catch it. And dogs and horses can't get up in there in the mountains where these snakes are going, so we don't stand a chance, you know. We don't stand a chance unless we got some kind of quiet drone that can detect stuff at night and go in with some kind of dart and put to sleep. There's no way that we're gonna, unless somebody happens to hit one in the car, or some hunter knows what it is and goes ahead and makes the kill shot. Other than that, I mean, there's not really a chance.
Well, when Joe told me that they was gonna do this, I immediately told my wife, said, yeah, we're going. I want to be a part of that, because the BFRO is now, they're not after finding Bigfoot. They're out for the money
Yeah.
to find Bigfoot.
That's right.
If you want to go on one of their little escapades, it costs you $300 to $500, and they determine how much it's going to cost you.
Right.
Plus your dues for the year, which are quite
If
high.
you're accepted.
Yeah, and you have to go on a little trip with them every year, which is another, who knows. You got to pay everything, plus pay them a fee to go. They're out for the money.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of this because it's not for the money, because Joe don't have any, neither does the rest of us. We're out here because we want to see what this thing is.
Right.
And like I said, I don't want to kill one, but I'd sure like to see one up close.
What you need to do.
I don't think a group of people will ever see one.
Well,
If there's more than one person, I don't think you'll ever see one. I think you'll make too much noise.
Yeah.
I think they hear well, they see well, they
oh
smell
yeah,
well.
they've got
I
us
don't think
beat.
you'll ever, they'll just have to blunder on you
Yeah.
as you're sitting still.
Yeah.
That's the only way anyone's ever,
What?
and that's generally the way anybody ever has seen.
Yeah, because when they're sitting still.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
see, you know what I thought of? Build a thing in the tree. You go live in that tree. Don't take a bath. Just do your duty from the tree, let it, like a sloth does. Live up there in the same clothes till you get to smell it just exactly, and eventually one's gonna walk up and just stand there for some reason, then you can just reach down, clip a bunch of his hair off.
I think
They did that in the 60s.
Female like,
Just that easy.
Go find some old
James
hippies
Goodall.
guys then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they want to know
That's
the parasitic.
I took a female to be there with him that wasn't
Right.
afraid, that was able to sit there, and, you know, that's what it's gonna take, you know.
He told me I couldn't do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'll just
So
have to
now
get
all
by.
this is.
This is that
Thanksgiving.
structure, this is a different structure here, this is one of the older structures, I think. Wait a minute. No, this is me documenting Mansfield. Yeah, this is all in Mansfield. That's the structure where I've got the cast right there with the 5 toes, and it was around this love
Is that the
shack.
structure?
That's the love shack.
That's the love shack.
And that's the other piece that was bent over later that repels water. It wasn't there to begin with.
It takes something to bend that over.
Yeah.
It's like 14 feet high, and where it's bent over. Up there, see that one there?
Mhm.
And it's stuck under these. See, they're all stuck under the one that shouldn't be under.
Right.
You know, they just all defy science. Another reason I told BFRO not to put it on their webpage is because I didn't want to give away my site, you know,
Yeah.
area. But right now, I mean, I can really use some help down there because my DJD and arthritis is so bad, it's kind of hard for me to get up in there and stuff. But I really need to exercise, so I've been doing it for some. So you can see the toes on it. That one kind of ran, but you can see the 5 toes for sure.
Yeah, you need some help on it. You can have my phone number.
Yeah, mine too, you know.
Yeah.
All right,
I'll leave it.
we'll trade numbers in a minute. Because I go up there about maybe once every week or two, especially after it rains and it's real fresh, because I want some dermal ridges. I want to get some nice tracks in the mud with dermal ridges on and stuff. That way they can't be denied, you know. And the main reason I started getting all this evidence is so, 20 years from now, I'm not going to look back and say, oh, well, yeah, it was just a bear, you know. I'm going to be like, well, okay. And I'm going to look at this every time I think, and try to rationalize it as a bear. I'm going to look at those footprints, and then I'll know, okay, well, it wasn't a bear. Now that one, I don't even know if it's a track, but it looked like it had toes, so I went ahead and casted it. And it was also the exact same size as those other 9-inchers. The 213s and the 16. And we found this tooth the other day. I haven't identified I drew when I got home. It was the 16, and then I drew that the next day. And there's the 16, and it broke.
I'd like to see some of your cats. I'd like to go up there and look around with you.
Yeah, y'all can see stuff I'm missing. You know, I took professional trackers up there, and they were seeing different stuff. I mean, they were like, see this stick where it's pressed in the ground, where something steps, and I look, and you can see the mark of the stick pushing down. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I don't notice, because like I said, I'm a composer. I don't know about myself. And there's all of them together. There's the big 16 there. The new one.
Well, I think you've got some proof that Bigfoot does live.
I think so.
Yeah.
Someone's up there throwing rocks and building love shacks,
And we know bears can't throw rocks.
right?
Oh, and that, on our, I just remembered something, on our part, we do have a bear up there, but they found him, the BFRO and the guy next door, and the other people that was walking all across our properties, they found the bear in his hibernation, so it couldn't have been the bear.
Yeah, the black bear, he was in under a ledge of rock.
Yeah.
Pulled part of it in around him, you know, the dirt around him, and he was asleep.
Because we've had a lot of people say, oh, it was that bear up there.
There's one of those stems that's a bit under the other one, like I was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You pull this
Yeah.
stem out, it just snaps right up, you know, and it was
Yeah.
blocking the trail. See, this
Yeah.
limb here is blocking the trail with that other one stuck under it. And like I said, as soon as I pulled that one out, it snapped right up.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, explain that
It
with
was
science and
easy to slap
mathematics
it in
and
the
algebra.
face.
Maybe it was a trap, I don't know.
Right.
Well, if they're smart enough to build a trap like that,
It's like a 16 that I found just about a week and a half ago there.
what are they smart enough to do?
Well, that's just like what Brad said a while ago. If they're smart enough to do all that stuff, me setting up in a tree ain't gonna work, because they'll see what we build, because they build
Right.
better traps and huts
There's a
than what
good
we
close-up
did.
of a creature.
And they're just aware.
Person. And then there's the ear right there, and then you can see finally that it's a bear. Black bear. I got a couple good shots of the bear. And that camera was 6 foot high, so it's coming up to him about right there. That's a big full-grown bear. I've been.
Does that camera flash?
I don't think it flashes. And now that's a Hogzilla track I found the other day. I'm more scared of that than probably anything else out there. That was a 4-inch hog track. I've also seen fur balls that are black and like 5 or 6 inches long. So I know we have some kind of big black cats that are out there. And I've got videos of one of those things they call a chupacabra. About 3.5 hours worth of coyote footage.
You know what?
Yeah, the coyotes and stuff for a couple of years.
There's no such thing as a black cat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There are black cats.
Right.
Yeah, we had one run across the road just right down from us. Me and my uncle, he sees it about once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I see it just about every week.
There are black
I can tell you about what I think was a sighting that I had. In about 2008, I walked to the caves down there, and there was no four-wheeler tracks, there was no people tracks or anything anywhere. You know, it was the middle of summer. I was only going crazy enough to be up there. There was only a couple spots that hold water in that time of the year. So I was watching, you know, maybe seeing a bear or something, and I come around the corner, and something big and black took off from the water and flew up the side of that mountain real quick and clumsily and big and long. It looked as long as an elephant. And I didn't know about all this stuff, and I was like, okay, cool, bear. I saw a bear. I was all happy. I saw a bear. I got to the caves up there, and right before the caves, there's these rocks stacked there. And I'm like, well, maybe somebody hasn't been here recently, because those rocks wouldn't be here because they would have already been knocked over. The wind, a squirrel, a bird, something would have knocked these rocks over. So then, you know, I go home, I don't think anything about it. All this stuff happens. I'm watching Bigfoot shows and stuff, trying to do a little research to find out what's going on and what I saw. And then they start showing this rock stacking stuff. And then I start thinking about that day. And I started thinking about whenever that creature left and the water and ran up the side of the mountain, it gasped. It goes like that before it went up the side of the mountain. And I don't know if bears do that or not, but this thing was huge. I mean, it was huge. And, I just don't know. I think it might have been a sighting. I'm not sure, you know, but I think that might have been a sighting. So. take a picture. Johnny Knoxville and those guys from Jackass, let those guys go take a picture. If I reach for anything, I'm gonna be reaching for my mace or my knife or my gun or something. You know, and like I said, I don't want to see one. I try to make a lot of noise. I blow my whistle that my friends call a rape whistle. You know, I blow it like every yards. So I'm like, if you're out in the woods and you hear that whistle, man, you know that's me.
Well, I appreciate you coming and telling us all this. That was really interesting. I just want to tell you a few things that happened to me before. What's your name?
Travis.
Oh, Chris.
Chris, yeah. I'm terrible with names. Y'all forgive me. I'm terrible with names. Before Chris comes, I just want to tell you a few things happened to me. Talk about wood knocks. I was coming back from the festival one year, and I stopped by the bridge where the Reverb was running underneath. And I was by myself, and I had my rod and reel and some tackle with me. So I was like, well, I'm just going to go underneath the bridge and fish a little bit. And when I got down there, I started hearing this. And so I thought, what's that? You know? And so I started walking toward them knocks, and it was just a constant like that. And right before I got to where the knocking was coming from, it just quit. And I don't know if it could have been a Bigfoot. I don't know, but I don't know what else. And it was loud knocks. It wasn't just like little pecks. I mean, it was loud. I think I might have seen a Bigfoot one time. I'm not sure. I was coming back from the festival, and I was coming around the curve into the straightaway, and just as around in that curve, I saw something big and black go across the road real quick. And I know it wasn't there because it wasn't on 2 feet, but it's big and it's black and it was moving fast going across the road. If I got there 3 or 4 seconds sooner, I could probably saw exactly what it was. But
did it have a big butt?
I didn't say good enough to know, but y'all know that movie Legend of Boggy Creek, and some of you may know this, but that's actually based on true events. A lot of people think it's just a movie they made up, but it was actually based on true events, and some of the same witnesses that actually seen the Bigfoot is in the movie itself. And it's all based on true events. And the attack that happened at Fowler, Arkansas, when the people got attacked that night, the next morning they packed everything up and left. I mean, the very next day they was out of there. After that night they got attacked. But anyway, Chris, if you'll come and tell what you encountered with that.
Hey y'all, I'm Chris Milton, and I live over here in Rome. And I have said, well, from the time I was a little kid, I was interested in Bigfoot. I always watched the shows, you know, in search of and all that stuff, you know, when I was a kid, various documentaries and things I've seen. And when I was 11, I lived at Sugarloaf Lake down there, just close to you guys down there, you know, and Travis over there. And my stepbrother and I went hunting one morning, and we was going down what's called the Gap Road there. It goes in between Sugarloaf Mountain there, through the valley there, and we were over on the western part there. We had pulled down in a little road down there, and we had just got off our motorcycles, and we was talking about where we're going to go. You know, I'm going here, you're going there, you know, and loading our shotguns. And all of a sudden, this howl, scream type sound came from up the ridge there from us, and right in front of these rock bluffs. That's what really was weird. There was something big, tall, hairy, you know, dark. It was 400 to 500 yards away though. We couldn't really see any detail, you know, or anything. And when we looked up there, the thing was kind of acting weird. It was moving kind of side to side. It was kind of arms up. You know, you could see that. But what I thought was weird was that it wasn't on top of the bluff like you would think most any other animal. It was like down below, standing in front of the rock. You know, which was weird because I mean, it looked like it was pretty well. I don't know. There must have been a little shelf there or something. It didn't, you know, because there was like rocks here and then rocks here below it, and this was like right in the middle. So I just thought that was kind of weird, you know. And I think we must have been getting close to a group of them or something in there. us, you know, or warn them, tell us to get out of there. Well, my stepbrother looked at me and said, that's Bigfoot, you know, let's get out of here. And we did, you know, we never went back, kind of like what you were saying, we never went back there, you know, again. And that was my first experience with actually thinking, well, maybe these things are real, you know, after reading books and watching the shows and everything. Well, a few years ago, there was, do y'all remember the guy that did the hoax there and said he had a body in the freezer? You know,
Which one?
That wasn't me, you know.
Rick Dyer?
Yeah, Rick Dyer, yeah. Well, that upset me because, you know, I was like, man, you know, I thought we finally got some proof. You know, here's somebody who's got a body. They're going to prove what, you know, I know to be real. They're trying to be a hoax. So that kind of made me, well, I started making these comedy videos. Me and my girlfriend at the time, and sometimes my cousin Brendan go back here with us, you know, and this was back in 2008. We made a few there for that year up into that winter. And whenever Finding Bigfoot come on, let's see, the season 2 or 3 had just ended, and I thought, well, let's get back and start making some of those again back in 2012. Just comedy videos, you know, we just thought, well, you know, because these guys are out here, and it is kind of frustrating, I can see, you know, to go out and look for evidence, and you don't find anything. So we just try to make some comic relief for that. And so we were just making comedy videos, and in September of 2012, I went walking back in the woods. It was night. It was probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I just walked back there. I didn't have a flashlight or anything. I'd walk back here to my campsite. I used to do that all the time, you know. And when I was back at my campsite, I heard something over there in the woods walking. You know, it could be anything, especially in the leaves and stuff. I mean, even, you know, just an armadillo, you know, or even a squirrel can sound like an elephant coming at you, you know. So I didn't pay no mind to it, you know. I just headed back to the house. And, well, I got down to the creek because the creek runs through here, Garrison Creek, and here's our field. We had cattle at the time down there, and then that separates our land from our neighbor's land over here, and then the hill's right here. And then there's another hill over here. We live in a valley, and there's a hill right over here, so we're surrounded by hills in this valley. And all this land, I have to say this too, all this land out here and down this road, the people have lived there for years, you know, generations, kind of like my family has. And so there's some people moved in, but not so much down here close to the hills as much as like up the road, closer to Rolling to town. So we're outside of town limits there. Well, I got to this creek, and I thought, well, you know, I'm going to try to see if Brendan hears this. You know, I started making some Bigfoot howls, you know, see if he'd hear that. I thought, well, you know, the next day he'll be telling about hearing a Bigfoot back there, you know. Well, so I made about 3 howls, and all of a sudden, okay, like the creek from this point runs this way, and it curves back east, back towards the Arkansas River, and back that way, like down towards, you know, heading towards the river. I don't know how far. There was a howl back at me, just like what I did. You know, I'm thinking, well, all right. I mean, I'm out here at this time of night. I believe it was a Friday or Saturday night. I was like, somebody else could be out there too. You know, doesn't mean that's a Bigfoot. You know, so but you know, I thought that was interesting. Well, come October, Brendan and his family always throws this hayride thing for all the people to go to church with and friends and stuff, and so. We were back there, and me and him and our cousin and his son all were together and had us a little scare station set up there in the woods. And we was right up here at the top edge of the field, right at the tree line of the hill. And everybody else was kind of down in the field, and like his dad was set up in the middle of the field and had a generator going, had some lights set up and stuff. And well, they had brought the little kids through first, and they just went around a couple times, didn't stop or anything. They just went around in a circle a couple times, took them on out, and went back to get more people. Well, while we were sitting there, waiting on them to come back through, we were sitting there talking, and all of a sudden we heard some banging going on. And there's also railroad tracks that run right along the creek there too, or kind of parallel with the creek when it curves back towards east there. And this banging started, and I was thinking, well, that's somebody down there working on the tracks or something, you know. That's what I thought, you know, because it was really loud, I mean, powerful sounding, you know. Didn't really sound like hitting on metal, but I was like, well, you know, it's got to be something down there like that. But then all of a sudden, the howls started, and I don't remember, I mean, I don't know, 4 or 5 different howls went on, and it went on for a little bit, right? And then,
yeah.
Okay, and we're sitting there, so I just start howling back, you know, and I get mad at myself because I had my phone in my pocket, and why I didn't think to get it out and start recording, you know, I don't know. I just, you know, I guess I was kind of shocked, and so like I said, my instinct was to howl back at him, you know, and get more, stuff going on. Well, presently, we heard just down the tree line, 'cause like I said, we were like here at the bottom of the hill right here, and the tree line ran right through here, and then there was a fence, and on this other field right over here, it had to be 60, 70 yards maybe from us, something like that, came a scream. I mean, that's what our cousin that was with us, that's what he remembers most. He said, man, that scream, I can't get over it, And it was almost, I don't know if it was directed at us. I mean, I wondered if it wasn't directed back at them guys over there, because they were still, howling and knocking. And like he's saying, give me a chance, I'm getting over it, I don't know. It was just weird, because what happened was ultimately he came up the hill behind us, or the one that made the scream came up the hill behind us. I mean, this had to be what happened, because about 5 minutes after that scream, there came a wood knock from up here, right up the hill from us, and then everything just stopped, and that was it. That's the last we heard. And from that point, then I was like, hey man, they're actually out here. We were making these comedy videos about them being out here, and they're here. And like I said, 25 years ago, my buddy had a sighting. We were 15, and he said that that they were, him and a buddy were sitting down on a bridge on a creek, and the rest of them were up here, and they were all up here drinking beer or whatever, and they slipped off down here and were sitting at the creek there, and they was talking, and they heard somebody come up behind them. I thought it was just one of the guys that found them. And so he, they both turned and looked. And they said, and I stood in because we did a recreation of this. It's on my YouTube channel. and so from what he described, as far as shoulders width compared to me and height to me, I kind of drew a black box around the picture of me, took a screenshot, darkened it, put the moon up there, And so just for comparison, I just had it kind of fade into that in the video, and it was, So they saw something like that standing behind them. They said he could tell it was hairy, covered in hair from head, to toe. It was too dark to see the face or anything. I was asking, well, did you see anything in the chest? Was it, could you tell was there hair there? He said, no, I don't know. It was just too dark. But you could tell from the outline. How at night you can kind of, you can tell on an outline. And he said he could tell it was hairy. And so he said as soon as they turned and saw it, they both split, took off running. I mean, he said his buddy tried to push him back, to get ahead of him, And when they went back up there, they told everybody. See, and that's something, why people don't want anybody to know. Because when they went up there and told everybody, well, they just laughing. Now they all drunk, come on now. I just started laughing at them when they told people at school the same thing. Just got ridiculed for it, Now, and every time I'd have him to tell somebody, he was reluctant, to tell anybody. He really want to say, and so that's why I know he wasn't lying, Because why would you be reluctant to say something if you were just lying, So I knew from way back then until, that I've always believed this story, that I always thought it was a couple, 2 or 3 miles west of where I live. Come to find out when we did the recreation and everything, it was just right up the road from me, the creek right up here, the bridge, that same Harrison Creek there.